I would also like to take the time to thank many of you who are here today who donated to help cover the cost of today's event. We'll always want to make sure that our events are accessible to allow for engagement across the state, and those donations are certainly appreciated. It is now my pleasure to invite Paula McKinney, the hardest working person at the State House, to the podium to welcome our panelists today. Let's give Paula your hand.
I don't know about that hardest working thing, but thanks, Rita. Thanks, and I'm not going to tell you otherwise since you're my boss for a hot minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome. And if it's okay with you, I'd love to invite our panelists to come on up and just watch your step. Thank you guys for being here. I'm impressed. We had to reschedule, because of the weather, and now it's cold again, and y'all still showed up. So thank you. Coming up, we don't have any set rules about who sits where. Yeah, just take your time.
That's right.
I think next time I'm going to bring those lights that they use for when they land planes, and I'm going to be going this way, this way. Well, welcome everybody. We are still missing, just in case you're noticing, this empty seat. Representative Mary Margaret Oliver is still over in chambers discussing the matters at hand. They have not adjourned yet. So if she makes it over here before this is over, then we'll have her come on up. But in the meantime, thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. And I think what I would like to do, if it's okay with all of you, is I'm going to start down with you, Commissioner, and just introduce yourself.
I sat here if I knew you were going to.
Yeah, see, that's what happens. You get up there, get eager, and get up there first. And just go ahead and say sort of what your role is in the constellation of child welfare would be great.
All right. Can everybody hear me okay?
I think is the mic on?
Just it.
I don't. Yep. There you
All
go.
right, all right.
There you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Polly, for having me here today, for having us here today. Thank you to everyone who put this together. I used to, in a previous life, I worked with an association myself, and we did a lot of events and conventions, stuffed a lot of bags, reviewed a lot of menus and name tags. So I always said if I were ever in a position like this, I'd always open up with just saying thank you to everyone who put this event together. These things don't just magically come together on accident, and then you throw in ice storms and things like that, just to make it especially interesting. So, my name is Russell Carlson. On August 1st, Governor Kemp appointed me to be the Commissioner of the Department of Community Health, which, to get right down to it, is your state Medicaid agency, as well as the administrator of the State Health Benefit Plan. Right now, I believe we have about 1.4 million children between the ages of 0 and 19 in our various Medicaid programs. So this space is something that's very important to us. It's something that is evolving and hopefully over time improving. So we really value the counsel from experts and from stakeholders to make sure that we always keep an open mind on how we can improve moving forward. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Heather?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Heather Rolls. I am the Executive Director of the Multi-Agency Alliance for Children, or MAC. We are a private nonprofit agency. We work with kids in the foster care system and those that have transitioned out of foster care. We serve about 2,000 young people in the foster care system or who have transitioned out of foster care every month. We're a coordinating agency, so we coordinate care services and supports and make sure that young people get what they need when they need it. We work with 9 partner agencies and about 50 other agencies in our work to make sure that kids get what they need. And I've been doing this work I've been in this role for almost 19 and a half years, almost 20 years.
But who's counting? It's okay.
Right, right.
Senator?
Hi, I'm Senator Kay Kirkpatrick, and I represent the 32nd Senate District, which is about half Cobb and half Cherokee counties. And I'm a retired orthopedic surgeon, and ended up taking this job thinking, how hard could this be? But it turns out it's quite challenging, and I have in the past worked mostly on health and insurance issues and military and veterans issues. But now Lieutenant Governor Jones has taken a very passionate interest in child welfare, and he has created the Children and Families Committee in the Senate, and I've become the chair of that committee. So it's a little bit of a change of direction for me, but I've learned a lot about the challenges that our most vulnerable kids are facing, and we're working hard on that in the Senate. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Judge Key?
Yeah, I'm Michael Key, juvenile court judge from Troup County, 70 miles southwest of here, about 70,000 population. March 1st, I'll celebrate 35 years on the bench, 25 of which were part-time, the last 7 years full-time. My wife told me to get a full-time job, so I did. And kind of my role is to do what I've been doing, surround myself with people smarter than me, Exhibit A, listen to them, learn from them, try to implement things in my own jurisdiction. When I find out that they work, then to do best I can to work with folks like Jerry and others to do some teaching and training around the state to try to improve practice around the state.
Thank you. Regina?
Well, good afternoon. I am not Commissioner Candace Brose. I'm her stunt double for this afternoon with you all, Regina Quick. I serve as General Counsel for the agency. You may note on your program that the Commissioner serves not only as the Commissioner of DHS, but also as the Director of the Division of Family and Children Services. We also include the Division of Aging Services, as well as Division of Child Support Services. So that's very important, I know, to this group. And I want to just thank you all for including us today. I served as a legislator for 5 sessions, and I was just telling Polly I don't think I ever missed one of these lunches, including when I lost my first election and came anyway.
Yeah, you did.
That session. So thank you for your work. That's how we fit in the space, and I look forward to being with you and this great panel you have.
Thank you. Director Bruce?
I'm Jerry Bruce. I'm the director of the Office of the Child Advocate, and I've been doing this work specifically since June of 2021 when the governor appointed me to this position. I was a DFAC SAG and a prosecutor before that, and a juvenile court judge and the state CIP director before coming here. So I just stay in the same work, but just rotate around the work into different jobs all the time. So we're right in the middle with all the people here on the stage today, and with folks like Voices and Georgia CASA and others, of trying to just identify issues and problems that impair good outcomes for kids in our child welfare system, and especially in our child welfare legal system. So that's kind of what we stay up to our neck in doing.
And Anthony?
All right. Hello. I'm Anthony Stover. I am the Youth Engagement Coordinator for Georgia Empowerment and MAC. And one of my roles is to make sure that if there's anything going on in the foster care system, that we have young people sitting at the table to help guide those decisions and those programs that are being developed. And if you want to harass anybody, there's my table over there, right there, with our amazing young people who are here to listen to everything that people who are making decisions about them have to say. So.
And Anthony wins a prize for the best writing implement.
Yeah.
You've got, what's his name again?
Groot.
On his writing implement. Is very fun to watch from here.
Everything Anthony writes will be Groot today.
So let's. I don't know if we should just reverse and go back this way. That's probably the easiest thing to do. Is we'll just do the wave with these questions. But my first question is, what are you most excited about right now? Because there's been a lot of talk. If I missed it over the summer, a lot of stuff around the child welfare system in Georgia from all kinds of angles, and so that's what prompted this panel. Is to kind of, so that we could hear from the folks in the system right here, right now, and see what they're excited about, what's working, and that's my first question. And then just so y'all can be preparing yourselves for this next question, we'll talk about places where you would like to see improvement. And I think that, and then I'll take moderator's privilege if I get the opportunity, maybe throw in a few more. But let's go ahead and start with what are you most excited about, Anthony?
I know for our work, since we deal primarily with young leaders, is we have the opportunity to pull together a lot of groups of young leaders. So we have our Georgia Empowerment Group, we have a American Youth Advisory Board, and we have a few others, the Georgia GCAP, and we're able to pull those groups together to work together to solve different issues by bringing young people to the table and using their voice. We are, I wrote notes.
There you go. Groot wrote notes.
We are very excited about the post-secondary education progress that has been made by using young people's voice. And let's see, what was my last one? Communication to the youth and providers regarding policies and practices.
I'm going to interject and say, so when you're talking about the post-secondary progress that has been made, describe for the audience what that progress looks like.
So thank you. All right, so one of the things that our young leaders have been working on, and I feel like I'm not the best person to be up here talking, I should have my leaders talk about it, but one of the things that our group has been working on is making sure that that young people who transition from care have are able to receive post-secondary education, and because of certain policies and bills that's been passed, youth are able to go to technical school when they transition from care, and that's within the state of Georgia. And now they're working as a group with a few other key private and public individuals to expand on that and to make it more accessible, because right now there are a few kinks in it, and so they're working to iron out those kinks for those that come behind them.
Well, I'll just say from Voices, let us know how we can help. So Director Bruce?
This is the what we're excited about one?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm really excited that we seem to be in a moment right now where there is a lot of intentional attention being paid to some of the issues in our child welfare legal system. And as you know, I mean, it's a difficult and thorny thing to identify problems and to isolate them and to fix them, because as soon as you propose a fix that touches one thing, it pulls 100 strings that affect other things that people may not think about. And sometimes people are interested in hearing those complexities and sometimes not. And right now, I think there's a real willingness all around the table to really sit down and talk about the challenges that kids and families in our systems face, and to really do the hard work of trying to do a fix here. I mean, I think I've had more intentional conversations with legislators and folks at DFACs and judges about not just general system improvements, but real specific things we can do to fix things recently than I have in many years past. So I'm really excited about that.
Thank you. Regina?
So let me preface this by saying you're not going to necessarily hear about what the commissioner might be excited about when I talk about some of this stuff, because at 11:26, just moments ago, I got the text that said she had been ordered to attend a hearing with a judge. And so one of the things, by Zoom, gratefully, by Zoom, right? But one of the things I'm excited about is working with someone like the commissioner, because today she's on the wall for that child, and I get to watch her be on the wall for Georgia's children day in and day out. And so I'm very excited about the work she's done on hoteling, and I would be remiss if I didn't talk about that, because working on that encompassed not just some of the budgetary things you all have heard about and have been talked about, but also legislatively last session, working with Senator Kirkpatrick's committee and the Senate on SB 133 for some legislative improvements to attack that problem, as opposed to the hundreds of children you may have heard about throughout last year. Last night there were 2, I think is what I was told when I called and asked, children in hotels in our foster care system. And so that doesn't happen by accident. It happens in a very purposeful way. And so looking forward, the commissioner I know is always looking for ways to fill gaps like that, to get in and work on those kinds of issues. And this year, proud to partner with DCH in a piece of legislation, SB 377. I just want to lift that up. We're going to have to go to committee meeting in just a minute about that.
Yeah.
But that's to fill a gap in service, a step-down gap in service for qualified residential treatment programs, to make sure it's clear in our law that they're a type of child-caring institution that doesn't require a certificate of need or any licensing by DCH, so that we can get some folks, providers in that very important space. So you get some wonky down in the weeds stuff with me. I'm sorry about that, but I'm pretty excited about that.
We're okay with
Everybody could go sign up to speak in favor of it when they leave here.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and we're okay with a little bit of wonky stuff. That's kind of, we enjoy that. Judge Key, what you excited about?
First, the disclaimer. I can only speak for myself. I'm not in leadership with the council. Can't speak for the council of juvenile court judges or any other judge in the state. So I want to speak first to the state level. I'm really excited about the open lines of communication between our judges and Department of Human Services with DFACS. I'm excited about the attention, as Jerry said, paid by the legislature to these issues, evidenced by the Senate hearings that you held around the state, which we appreciate very much. I'm excited about the fact that throughout Georgia, systems are wanting to get better. The Office of Child Advocate and DFACS partners in a program called the Multidisciplinary Child Abuse and Neglect Institute. And we have far more demand than we can meet in terms of taking that program out and trying to improve the way we do practice around the state of Georgia. On a local level, I'm very excited about continuing our trauma responsive community journey that began 10 years ago, and we work on it every day. Very excited about additional work that we started working on recently, focusing on serving our autism community better and focusing on early childhood well-being.
Thank you. Senator?
Yeah, what I'm excited about is that this is what I think is a perfect storm in a good way of momentum on child welfare issues. We've got, pardon my French, a badass commissioner. We've got a lieutenant governor who's fired up about child welfare. We've got a governor who's supportive. We've got Regina over there making sure we don't pass bad laws. And we've got, and you know, I'm no expert, but I'm committed to getting these bills passed. So we've got, last year we passed, I think, a package of about 6 bills related to child welfare through the Children and Families Committee, and I think we've got another at least half a dozen pending this session. So I think the ball is rolling, and we are can't fix everything in 1 year, but we're definitely making progress.
Thank you. Heather?
I'm excited about several things. We're really excited right now. We're stepping into the prevention space. So we've been working with families that are where their children have been coming in and out of care. So we're using high fidelity wraparound to do intense coordination and make sure that those kids can stay with their families. And it's completely voluntary for the families. And we've been, it's been very successful. We've been at this since April. And so the commissioner actually took a gamble on us to try this pilot, and it's going really well, and we're very excited about that. We've also been working with young people who have aged out of foster care and have there's been a lot of housing insecurity, and making sure that these young people who are working really hard at workforce development and career readiness and all of those kinds of things and being in school, but they're really struggling with housing. Housing has been a huge struggle. So we've been partnering with lots of different agencies to make sure that they have appropriate housing and are safe. And then lastly, we've been working with several of our agencies to develop some assessment centers so that we can get young people stable for 90 days. We can really figure out what's going on, and so that we can get them in the right place so they can stop bouncing around our system and not go into hotels and things like that, so that we can really get them into the right placement. And then we'll be following those young people whether they go home or wherever they go after they leave our program. So we're really excited about that.
Thank you. Commissioner?
Well, thank you. And Heather, much of what you just said, I think, resonates with me also, because when I think about what I'm most excited about, I also have a healthy amount of respect and officially it's a daunting exercise at the same time, but that is the reprocurement of our managed Medicaid program across the board for both Georgia Families, which is Medicaid proper, and then the Georgia Families 360 population, which I know many constituencies represented here today are so passionate about. I have a healthy amount of that respect, but I also, as the senator just mentioned, the perfect storm and the opportunity that arises from those matters. It's the state's largest procurement. It's the state's largest and most robust health policy document. And I think within our RFP, I hope you acknowledge that I hope we did our share of listening as we develop that. And I hope we're implementing things that go to more continuity of care, proper case management. There's references to closed loop referral systems, which I know has been something of great import to people here. But also, and this might kind of pivot into the next question to some degree, but I guess I'm starting
Thank
that,
you.
so I'm blending.
I was hoping you were going to
Sending
do
it
that
back
for me.
down, yeah.
Your check's in the mail, Commissioner.
That's right. So when you have the new CMO RFP go out, it might be easy to, as a department, to say, look at all these things we're now going to ask CMOs to do, and wag the finger at, we're going to tell them to do this, and then we're going to tell them to do that, and if they don't do it, then we're going to. There's a great deal of accountability in there. I think we have provided the state with levers that we didn't have before to hold matters into compliance. But also, I look at that as a real a tall order for the department to be in a better position to do what we need to do and have the resources we need to enforce compliance, to have the proper data analytics component to know what's happening in the field from both a quality standpoint, from both a contractual compliance standpoint. I need to know the answers to questions before I ask them, if you will. I need to know what's happening in the field from the data that we see, and to have autonomy with the information that we have, and to make database decisions to the best degree we can. Perfect example, and Polly, I want to thank you again. Speaking of database decisions, working with DHS and DFACS through the redeterminations process, we looked at some counties through analytics, through heat maps, if you will, and we were able to now, with y'all's help, put events together in spaces that we know need our attention. So we're not throwing a dart at 159 counties and just say, hey, where should we go today? I hope we could take that concept out and apply it to much of what we do moving forward when it comes to population health and just managing with information. But again, I want to say that it's a very humbling task on our end, and we appreciate your input and your patience as we get there. But I think the first step is acknowledging that we need to get there, we must get there, and we've been investing a lot from a systems and human resources perspective, including ask in this budget, to where we're calling upon ourselves to do better, and I'm convinced with all your help we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. By the way, we're looking at doing some of, I think, DeKalb, I don't know if they've already done theirs, for the unwinding, and we're looking at Gwinnett towards the end of February, and we'll let you guys know when we have a location to do some, like, I don't know if we're going to call them unwinding fairs. I think we're calling them, I forget what they're called. But anyway, Heather, what are you most concerned about looking forward? What do you think needs some work? I mean, it's a big topic. I know it's like, let's like saying, show me all the oxygen in the room about things, but it's a dynamic topic. So what do you think?
Well, what do I think needs the most work? Well, I'll kind of piggyback a little bit off of what you said. We're also very interested in the procurement of the Georgia Families 360 program. We're, of course, watching that. I think that what I would love to see is our state in general to continue to look at innovative practices and services and supports. I always want to make sure that we're looking at youth voice and choice and making sure that young people have control and some voice at the table at whatever decisions they need to have control over their life and what that looks like, whether that's placement decisions, we're talking about whether they reunify or who they're going to live with, but also about their treatment, like whether or not they want to go to a therapist that's a traditional therapist or a different type of therapist. I would love for us to talk about SOTA services when we talk about social determinants of health, and make sure that we're talking more about normalizing, the very basic things like education. When in our education program, one of the first things that my staff picked up on is when young people are engaged in extracurricular activities, they're more engaged in school, their placement stability that becomes something that they really work towards, is trying to stay in their placement. And so we increased extracurricular activities those first couple of years. It went from like 6% to 60%. And then we started seeing placement stability increase too. And so that was like a really big eye opener. Of course, then COVID happened and then I kind of blew that up. But I think that those are those normalizing things, like getting kids into sports and things like that, is really important. And those things lead to mental health and all of that kind of thing. And I think that if we focus on, well, they have to go to therapy and they have to do it this way and it has to be done this way, then we're not going to really get very far. And so those are some of the things. I keep dropping my glasses, I'm sorry. So I think those are some of the things that I would like to see us increase. I'm sure I had other things written down, but I'll go with that for now.
Yeah, I can tell anybody who's had a teenager would be like, yes.
Yes.
Senator, what would you like to see?
Well, there's really three things I want to bring up. One is the mental and behavioral health stuff is very linked to sort of the very difficult situations that especially some of the older kids end up in. And we are working on that. We've got workforce issues for providers and all of that makes that very challenging. The second thing is, I think our juvenile judges have a really hard job. And I think that they are a little bit of a different animal than the other groups of judges. And so we're working to try to help somehow with the data reporting, because that is the information that we need. Where are the gaps and what do we need to get kids to permanency? And then the third thing I'll just mention is our frontline caseworkers are struggling. We have a hard time retaining people, and money's part of it, and we're working on that part. But there are some other things that we can do to assist with that, because these folks are dealing with really awful situations many times, and so we've got to find a way not to lose the people that we train and hire and train and then have to start over and over again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for raising those up. Judge Key?
Just a reminder of my disclosure, if you will, disclaimer, if you will. A couple of things. One, how long do I have? So, I want to follow up on the piece about our child welfare workers in Georgia. They are grossly underpaid. They're unappreciated. They're under-resourced. And I think it was the United Auto Workers or someone recently, when they went on strike, they cut a deal not just to give you a raise this year. They made, I think it was a 5-year commitment. And if we want to get and keep good people in Georgia working this field, we've got to make a long-term commitment to them. Not that we want to throw you a bone this year. We want to respect you year after year after year and get your pay where it needs to be, not this year necessarily, but over time. And that's all of our child welfare workers, including service providers, people in our courts, everyone else. So that's very important to do that. One of the things that I see is we've got to improve parent representation in Georgia. That's largely still a money issue. The counties have to pay it. The counties are not always excited about paying it. But in almost every single case, children want to go home. They want to stay with their families, and their families want them home. So when we have well-compensated, well-resourced parent attorneys that can fight that battle as well, then we can keep families together more into family preservation, which is a huge thing for Georgia when we do that right. And we can get children home quicker, safely, when the children and their parents are represented. So that's a piece we really have to work on as well. Following the law would be cool. This is, okay. So, we have a lot of really good, we have a,
What are you trying to say?
Judge Rubin just say, when in doubt, follow the law. And I would say, when not in doubt, follow the law. We have a lot of good laws in place that we need to pay more attention to and be more strict about how we enforce those laws. The judicial exercise, the responsibilities we have, doing things timely, different players doing things timely. And some of the legislation I've seen so far this year, I think is really good legislation, and it's going to further permanently improve the system as well. And that's probably all I should say.
Thank you. That was so good.
Now, Polly, everybody else has had access to the questions, so you want to repeat the question, make sure
The
I'm
question
answering.
was, what needs some work? What do you see in the field? We talked about what you're excited about, but we know this is like an ongoing conversation.
Right, so the caveat, I might not be speaking for the commissioner, but I think she would agree that the work that she's doing and the work that everybody's mentioned for our frontline caseworkers that are the first line of defense, not just for the family unit, but also to carry out these laws that everybody enacts. But in terms of what she's tried to do, I think, is also leverage technology in a way that helps that caseload in other ways. The Argo system that she spoke about in the budget meetings, as well as the new Communicare system. But a large part, I think, of what we get concerned about are maybe what folks would say are not our kids, right? Upstream from a removal, and back to what Commissioner Carlson talked about, that robust Medicaid provider pool upstream and some ability to connect the dots for folks in need and families in need. So I think we're always looking at ways to leverage partnerships, technology, and all available resources to attack that problem.
Thank you. Director Bruce.
So data is one of the biggest focuses that OCA has right now. I'm so glad that Senator Kirkpatrick has highlighted data in her committee's work this year, because so much of our system is very complicated, and for a long time, for too long really, we've tried to improve our system through intuition and hearsay. Well, I was in this place and I saw this. You can't really pull up data to check and see what's going on in the different courts around the state. You have to go drive out there or look. You have to hope that that SAGs are providing orders to defects so they can get them uploaded into Shines and other systems. And we don't have a way to really, truly identify the data points that we really need to work on. And that's so important. It's also really not exciting, right? You're not going to see a front page story in the AJC about our work to improve data in juvenile courts. It's not going to happen. But I always say data is really boring until it's your data, right? When you go to the doctor, all of a sudden those blood panel results, that's data. It's suddenly really important to you, right? Well, you're all here because this work is really important to you. And so the data that we need is very important to the people of our state and to the functioning of this system that is so central in promoting the welfare of our kids. So we need data, and I'm so happy to see that this is being highlighted now. And the other thing is quality of legal representation. Just as Judge Key said, we need to work on parent representation. OCA takes a special interest in the quality of legal representation that the children who are parties in dependency cases receive. And many times, this is not something like we're asking counties to pay for something new. Counties are already paying for legal representation for parents and children across the state. The problem is they're paying for something that is not quality legal representation in many instances. I've watched a lot of court. We see cases where there's no advocacy going on. There's a warm body in the chair, but no noise comes out of that person's mouth. And that's a bad thing when you're paying someone to advocate for a child or a parent across the state. So that's something really important to us. It's an area we need to work on, and it's also an area that's being highlighted by the Lieutenant Governor's office right now. There's a resolution that we worked with them to come up with. It's going to be brought before Senator Kirkpatrick's committee tomorrow. So all the stuff that I think is a problem, I'm also really excited about because of this willingness to bring these to the forefront and work on them.
Thank you. Anthony.
All right, so speaking as someone with lived experience that works with young people who are transitioning from care. I think that some of the barriers for that overall success, not just them transitioning successfully at the age of 21 or 18, is making sure that we're covering those gaps in life skills. Because it's great that that they did transition from care, they turned 21, but do they know all the things? Do they know how to change a tire? Do they know how to properly look at their bank account? Do they know how to search for an apartment or wash clothes and things like that? So those are generally, typically things that you learn in a natural family home. Mom, dad sitting down telling you how to negotiate without burning down I don't know, whatever it is that people do. So we're also looking at, with that, working to address barriers for affordable housing for our young people. So as you know, like prices have gone up, but pay hasn't gone up, and our young people are still struggling to try and make rent, even with roommates if they happen to have them. So we need to look at that long-term effect of them when they transition from care. How do we prevent them from having to becoming homeless, ending up as those statistics that we always see, that data that Judge was talking about, as well as making sure that there's creative approaches to mental health, especially those mental health services that are culturally appropriate. I could say for myself as a black male, there are certain things that I would only feel comfortable talking about with another black person or what have you. And I think that that is important when you're looking at all of our young people as they transition from care, to make sure that they're covering those gaps in life skills, that they have the appropriate mental health services, and that they can have affordable housing, hit that hierarchy of needs that they have.
Thank you. And I see Representative Oliver is just over from the Capitol. Come on over. It's okay. We just finished our question number 3, so I'd love for you to come on up and join.
Is there a chair?
Does everybody want to? It's probably easiest just to walk across. If I had been thinking, Commissioner, you want to sit? There's a seat here. Or Thomas has one.
I'm sorry.
We're all family. Oh, don't apologize. You were busy doing the people's business, so never apologize for that. Representative Oliver, I'll just get you caught up. We've been talking about, well, first everybody said their role and who they are and what they do with regard to child welfare, and then we talked about things that each member is most excited about. It's been a big day. Each person is most excited about in the child welfare space, and then also where they see challenges ahead. And so if you'd like to just have a moment and catch your breath and say hi.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your patience with our ridiculously unpredictable schedules. I'm very happy to be here with you this afternoon. I am very grateful for this session giving additional resources, i.e. $16 billion of reserve money, which is unique in my long political career to have that kind of savings available to us, and using that money in part for a deep dive into the issues of mental health service needs for children. We know across Georgia that there is an inadequate supply of workers to assist with children who have significant mental health needs. And we further know that there is a disparity of how children receive services in a wide variety of ways. The Medicaid expansion window of opportunity, that's where I'm choosing to call it today, and I choose to remain hopeful that there will be further discussions about this window of opportunity to expand to Medicaid for the 400,000 folks of Georgia that are uninsured, including hundreds of thousands of children in that group. That is a unique opportunity also that's coming before us, and I urge every single one of you have a state house member and a state senator for whom you vote, to give them a little ping, message, email, letter, or phone call to say you're really hopeful that these discussions will move forward in the 2024 for the 2024 and 2025 budget cycles. So we're learning through our mental health reform efforts a great deal more about where the gaps are for services for children and adults. And we are recognizing, I think, that the most visible visible groups of underserved for mental health services are the homeless, which are visible as we walk out this door, but also for children. I am very interested in the progress that pre-K folks have made in hiring assistant phone folks to serve the providers of pre-K out there about issues of behavioral health that 4-year-olds present. This is in the umbrella of prevention, which I want to talk about for a couple of minutes, and then I'll move on to whatever else you'd like me to do, if anything. Prevention is what we should be more focused on. I'm concerned that DFACS is reorganizing the captive programs, the prevention-type programs that are mandated by federal law, and I want to make sure that those prevention discussions are independent and positive and go forward in the way we spend our federal money for child abuse prevention. I also want to highlight again that the pre-K phone folks that are taking calls are hearing enormous difficulties of 4-year-olds with mental health services. If you're expelled from a pre-K class at age 4, that indicates that you've got trouble. And it indicates that you're going to have a rough start to school. We need to pay attention to that. That's a large group of children, 80,000 or so, that are in pre-K, more than that really. And if we can get some more information and data about why those children are being expelled from 4-year-old programs and the way in which we have opportunities to help those providers out there, I think we can make some steps forward on the issues of prevention. We are not consistent in how we deliver mental health services to very young children, and that's a progress point that we need to make. Our challenges are the challenges of politics and the challenges of human beings, and we have politics and human beings combined over there, and those are challenges on a daily basis. And I look forward to meeting with anybody, anytime, to discuss further those challenges. Now, how may else I help you today? Other than
That's pretty good. Like I think you checked all those boxes. We have a little teeny bit of extra time, and so I am going to take moderator's privilege if that's okay with the panel, and you can just say pass if you don't want to answer this. But I am curious, if you had a magic wand and could change our social, this is like a big philosophical question, but it's kind of something I always wonder about, so I'm just going to do it because I have the microphone, so there. So if you could change how people thought about the child welfare system and the humans, to Representative Oliver's point, the humans in it, what would be the one thing that you would change? This magic wand, utopian dream, but I think it's an important thing to notice because we get all tied up talking about programs and plans and making sure that, we have housing and all of these things, but what is the sort of perspective that you would wish for someone to have when they look at the child welfare system? I should have sent this one ahead, I can tell from everybody's faces. Who would like to start? Anybody can start.
Love your neighbor. Every time I see a 6 o'clock news story about a death or a child that's in some horrendous nightmare situation, there's always another person who comes to the microphone on the 6 o'clock news and says something like, I knew there was something wrong in that house. I knew that child was hungry. I knew something was wrong in that house. I think that's true. I think that neighbors know. And the one thing I could change, if I could change, is that every single person of Georgia know that they are engaged in the child welfare system and are engaged and obligated to prevent child abuse.
Thank you. Who would like to? Senator?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the attention that's now being paid to early childhood, like 0 to 3, is super important, and we know that that's where it all starts, and that's where I think we have the biggest window of opportunity for prevention, and I'd like to see us really laser focused on it.
Thank you. Who would like to? There we go.
I'd love to focus on the perception that we have of the families and children that we serve in the system, because I've encountered people who take a very sort of derogatory view of those folks, like they've all put themselves in those situations. And there are people, I used to be a prosecutor, and I know there are people who are cruel, there are people who are evil, there are people who are selfish, but the vast majority of the families that we deal with in these situations, the folks that I helped remove children from when I was a SAG, and cases I presided over as a judge, the vast majority of those cases are neglect cases. The vast majority of those people don't choose to be in the situation that they're in. They lack the sort of supports that we have. And many of us, as Judge Key and I have discussed many times, are, one serious automobile accident or wreck away from an opioid addiction or something like that. The difference between a lot of us and the people that we deal with in those situations is that we have people who come and will help us through those dark patches and assist us and extend a hand to us that the people we serve often just don't have. And if we would just realize that there, but for the grace of God go I, we would treat those people exactly as we would want to be treated. Judge Key says one of the keys to our system is to look at each family and say, I want to do for this child that is before me today in court exactly what I would want done for me and my child if I were in the same situation. And that would revolutionize our work in child welfare. Just a little bitty wish.
Yes, let's see. Well, it's okay if I ask the question. Who would like to speak next?
Well, I'll piggyback off of what he said. I would love to see our system focused on removal for abuse and support for neglect. And so that I'm waving a magic wand here, right?
Yeah.
So that we're really focused on supporting families and children who are in situations where neglect is the issue, which is typically around poverty, and removal was really reserved for abuse situations. I think that would be and I also would love to see our system based on kids getting what they need when they need it, and not just getting what they get.
Thank you. Judge?
So really, that's the law. You're talking about following the law again, that we remove children only as an absolute last resort. When we can keep families together, we keep them together with services. That's already the law. In a lot of jurisdictions in Georgia, both the court systems and DFACs and service providers and others are doing an exceptional job, both voluntary family preservation and court-ordered family preservation. So that's the law. We need to follow it. We need to promote it more. But from a perception standpoint, I would like to see all of us celebrate the good things more than we do. We always talk about the negative, but again, there's exceptional work going on out there. When we talk about case manager turnover, then you may be doing a great job and taking pride in the work that you do, and you see in the media all the time that outlier, that one case that goes bad, and then how can you take pride in your own work then? It's a challenge to be able to do that. So that's really how I like the good work that's going on out there for you. Find the pockets and replicate it.
Thank you. Who else would anybody else like to weigh in? Oh, Anthony. Anthony's geared up.
I was trying to think, and everything just kept coming back to preventative measures. What would have been like if my grandmother would have had extra funds or support so that I didn't have to come into foster care, or when talking with some of our other young people whose mom had to work like a few different jobs, or whose parents had to work a few different jobs and just couldn't be home, and so they was hit with neglect and now they're in care, or because of after school, there weren't enough after school push for after school programs and things like that. I think that if I was to wave a magic wand, I would put those funds into the communities to prevent kids from coming into care.
Thank you. Anyone else want to? Regina?
Polly, I doubt that there's anything I can say to this group that that would be helpful on that front, but I think the important thing is I wish I could get everyone to know and to focus on the fact that it's about each individual child. There's no cookie cutter solutions that's going to work in every situation, and there's no one size fits all. I think that is the challenge and the difficulty in working in this space. So I would say I would have everyone focus, if I had a magic wand, have everyone focus on the child that's in front of them.
Thank you.
May I just welcome Judy Fitzgerald and congratulate her? I just wanted to recognize, I'm very happy to have your skill set back in this room and back with us at the Capitol. Thank you for taking on this important job.
Thank you. All right, so now we are getting close to out of time. So I'm going to give, we've had for me it was very inspiring to hear you all answer that question. Thank you. And now you've got this room full of folks who are here, and they're still here, and they even have already finished their lunches, and they're still here. And so I would love for you to each take, 15 seconds or so to say what all these folks can do to help move this work forward. So, Commissioner?
Sure. I would say that every idea, every policy is generated somewhere. And more often than not, it's not generated necessarily within the halls of the Department of Community Health. It's because we all step outside our halls and hopefully do our share of listening to real-life experiences, to where the gaps are. And so your constant engagement is not only appreciated, it helps guide us. As with anything, we're not going to bat 1,000, but where the policy, the finance, and the timing can all align, we want to, more often than not, allow better ideas to prevail. And with the expertise within the department, hopefully navigate those ideas to fruition. So the engagement is needed. You help keep us sharp, and you help keep us current, and we're very grateful for that. So please, especially in these most interesting times, I hope Polly and others would agree, we've acted on a lot of your input because it's been sound input, and it's been you seeing things from a lens that we don't necessarily always see them through. So we're very grateful for the partnership.
Thank you. Yes, okay.
You're already engaged because you're here today. But please, please know that the power you have of knowing who your representative and your senator is far greater than you would imagine it to be. Those of us that have gone in the 100-degree temperature knocking on doors in August across Georgia care about what constituents say much, much more than we care about lobbyists. Good or bad lobbyist, we care about constituents. If you don't know who your personal representative or senator is, don't tell me, it would just upset me. So, and recognize that that person is going to likely change in this redistricting, and we need you to reach out to your people. Thank you.
But you looked at Stan when you said that just now about the lobbyist.
I would say support both the public and the private sector. We support agencies and support kids and families that are doing innovative work, and support bills and budget requests that help support the work and quality providers. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I would second what Representative Oliver said about knowing who your people are. If you don't know, go to openstates.org and look it up. And the great news for you at the state level is we don't have a lot of staff. That's bad news for us, but it's also good news for you because there really are not very many walls between you and your legislator. So we're all pretty easy to track down and meet with, and most people, I think, are very responsive, especially if you're a constituent. So I agree with Mary Margaret.
So people say politics is local, and Also, systems are local. So hold us accountable on a local level. Everyone in this room can go to fosteringcourtimprovement.org. You can see your county's numbers against the state averages. And if they're not what they should be, have discussions with your people locally as to why. Hold them accountable. Kirby Smart says, we set a standard and we play to it. It's the Georgia standard. So let's raise the Georgia standard for children throughout our state and apply that locally as well. And even those areas where you're doing well, Kirby Smart also says better never rest. So just continue doing what you're doing to make Georgia a better place for our children.
Thank you.
So I may not get to hang around because we've got a bill to get out of committee. So I will say to you, piggybacking on what the legislators have said, the good news is you don't need one of them to get through your state agencies either. There are constituent services groups, and my cell number is 706-207-3520. That is my personal cell number, 706-207-3520. If you see something, say something. And if you need something, feel free to reach out, and I'll get you to our constituent services team. But thank you for what you do.
I have that on speed dial, by the way.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
You don't want Judge Key to have your number. That's a bad idea. He wakes up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and starts sending texts and things. And 5 seconds later, he sends you another one and says, "Did you get my text?" So the most important thing is advocacy. I mean, the professional advocates are not the only advocates, and you probably know that because you're here. But talking about advocacy to other people too, because the most intractable problems that we've faced as our society over the past 70 years have been addressed, insofar as they've ever been addressed, only because people won't shut up about them, right? They keep coming back year after year. They try one thing, and if that doesn't work, they try another thing. They realize the importance of incremental success and incremental improvement. They never give up. They always keep the goal in mind, and in this case, it's the well-being of children, and that's something to stay really excited about and to never shut up about. And I encourage people, go to your local juvenile courts. Dependency cases involving children in foster care are presumed to be open hearings now. And you need to go sit and watch what's happening in your local juvenile court, and you need to ask questions and raise issues and see what's going on. And the kind of advocacy really helps. You need that micro local advocacy that Judge Key talked about as much as we need the systemic overarching advocacy. So I think that's probably very important.
So Coach Smart says keep the main thing the main thing.
The main thing, yeah.
Anthony.
All right. I think I'm gonna finish how I started. I'm always encourage you to make sure that you're utilizing young people's voice, and I'm gonna point back to my table like I did in the beginning.
Y'all wave, team. There we go.
Invite Empowerment out to talk. Yeah, please give them a round of applause for coming. We invite you to come out to our events, to our Georgia Empowerment events, where we're doing our different trainings, teaching life skills. We're like our Martyr Day for any of you who have been involved in those. Let's see. So continue to support young people as they are aging out or transition out to be involved in a youth group like Georgia Empowerment, as well as help support some of the bills as some of my colleagues have said up here, specifically those around young people receiving post-secondary education.
Thank you. I would like to have some cleanup, but let's give all of our panelists a round of applause. I'm so grateful to you. I am grateful for the work that y'all do every single minute of every day, and I am grateful to you for coming. And now I'm going to do my real quick cleanup. So you guys, I also want to thank the Voices team. I mean, they pulled this thing off. And Olivia, where are you? Where's Olivia? Olivia, who we all have heard from a million times. Olivia and Suzanne, I don't know where Suzanne is. Suzanne and Melanie all have done yeoman's work to make this event happen and do yeoman's work every single day to help us be better, as do the rest of our team. We are small but mighty, and now we have a new executive director who's also small but mighty. She's smaller than I am. But I just want to say thanks to the Voices. You guys, I love you, and I'm so happy and honored to be the advocacy director still. by the way, still, and ongoing. And thank you for being here, and thank you, folks in the audience, for caring. I'm about to get like verklempt here, but it really does take all of us. And as the advocacy director, I'm going to advocate that we all stay cohesive and communicating, whether we agree or disagree, so that we can actually get to the root of the problem, because we all agree of what kids and families deserve. So that's with that. I'm going to say have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see some of you across the street in the halls. And thank you for being here, everyone.
That was that.